So here I am again. I was telling myself I'm just gonna listen to it. It's just a Destiny post. It's whatever. But okay. That's funny. Just so you know that literally I stopped at 420. Literally complete fluke that 100%. Like I understand people fake it. But I have no reason to fake it. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Right? Even if I'm the only one that's gonna think or I'm thinking about how crazy that is for I stopped it to make this recording and then I was gonna tell myself like okay where did I stop it so I can jump back to here and I happened to stop at 420. Okay, all right, we gotta do this thing. 420. By the way, I actually didn't drink it. Anyways, just in case. Because some of you may have been aware that I didn't actually drink it, but some of you may be like, well, you drank all that. Cool. No, I didn't. But originally, I wasn't going to. But unfortunately, apparently, I have to. I'm not going to do a lot of it. I want to stop, but yeah.
And then somehow enforce that with no one owning it because the studios have shut down.
It's a massive burden to register.
So this highlight, for the record, is stupid because we don't know what the context is. And so to bitch and moan and cry about this, you might as well be a Karen as far as I'm concerned because we don't know what the fuck you're crying about right now.
A copyright?
The company has to go and control it. Well, what if the company's not around anymore? Is that just...
If the company's not around anymore, then who the cares? What, like, imagine the problem we're thinking. What if somebody...
Again, like, what's the context? It sounds like he was gonna be putting some forward, but then you stopped him.
Company's not around. A copyright?
The company has to go and control it. Well, what if the company's not around anymore?
If the company has control of it...
Is that just...
If the company register a copyright?
The company has to go and control it. Well, what if...
If a company has to control over it, he didn't say if a company has control over it. So there's obviously there's context or there's some misunderstanding here, and again that's why I'm shut off in the world. Blacklist me and people like Bernie Sanders, not because we're brilliant or not because, well, maybe because we are that too, but the point is what's it called, we connect the dots. Basically you're fighting the mist and he's fighting the mist, and you're seeing what's happening between, and like that's why we're getting nowhere, because divided they fall, and that's just an example, and I unite the two, and so they want to shut me up because I bring you closer together than further apart, like everyone else.
If the company's not around anymore, is that just...
If the company's not around anymore, then who the cares? What, like, imagine the problem we're thinking. What if somebody wanted to host a global Pong server now, and they hosted the Pong server, and now they want to charge people money to join it, and now the original company, well, then who the cares? Then let them charge.
We don't know what the context is.
Money to host the server. Who cares? Who's even being harmed at this point?
That's probably why it's getting promoted.
Oh, the pirate software stuff is hot right now. I don't think it is hot right now. I was just curious about the older stuff, but I feel like I must have gone over that video before, right? Find me the very first "Stop Killing Games" response from Thor. Go. Is it this one?
Hi, my name is Jason, also known as Pirate Software Online. I've been in the gaming industry
Hi, Jason.
for about 20 years. I used to work at Blizzard Entertainment, then Amazon Game Studios, and now I own my own studio.
Kind of like how they do Alcoholics Anonymous. It was like, hi, my name is Brandon. And it was like, hi, Brandon.
Pirate Pirates Software by the same name, which is an indie studio, and I've been here for about 8 years now. I also run a massive community. We've got about 180,000 people in Discord, and most of what I do is try to teach other people how to make games, teach them that they can make games, show them the tools to do so, and try to do everything without any paywalls or bullshit. It's incredibly important to me that
That's
we
what I
keep
do.
making games, and that the next generation has the tools to do so their medium doesn't die out. And it never will. And that's the whole intention of all of this. So with that in mind, that community brought me this and tried to get me to sign it. And I don't want to. Number one, I can't because I don't live in Europe. But number two, I wouldn't sign it even if I could. And I'm going to kind of go through this and try to explain the reasoning as to why that would be the case.
Okay.
Without all of the internet hate machine that's grown up around it.
Cool.
So let's go into how this works and why this is an issue today. First things first, what is an initiative? So an initiative is actually not law. It is something that you put together so you can put it up in front of representatives and they can start the conversation. The reason why I have a problem with Stop Killing Games is specifically it starts the wrong conversation. If we're trying to kill off the practice of developers putting together a live service game, pitching it as a single player experience, and then taking away support in the future, this ain't it. And the reason why is specifically on say in front of representatives and they can start the conversation. The reason why I have a problem with Stop Killing Games is specifically it starts the wrong conversation. If we're trying to kill off the practice of developers putting together a live service game, pitching it as a single player experience, and then taking away support in the future, this ain't it.
So, pitch idea, single player, and then take away rights. What? I don't understand the argument.
Together a live service game, pitching it as a single player experience, and then taking away support in the future.
And then taking away support in the what support? I don't understand the argument. What's the point? Like when you buy a one-player game, that's it. If they support it, cool. If they don't, cool. It is what it is. Are you saying that they're not allowed to support? I don't understand it.
This ain't it. And the reason why is specifically on this initiative, under its own description, it says, this initiative calls to require publishers that sell or license video games to consumers in the European Union or related features and assets sold for video games they operate to leave said video games in a functional playable state. Specifically,
Oh. Calls to require. So it means if you make a game, you're required to keep the. Okay, that makes sense. As far as like you put a game out there, you can't then go pull the carpet and then be like, haha. It'd be like Elon Musk saying, oh, we full out automated, blah, blah, and you buy it and there's no automation. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just have to, it's a single player game, let it be as such. If it's a server run game that you made, then it has to, if you paid for it, then it has to be that way, basically. The same thing with like League of Legends. It's that's the thing with League of Legends. You may have appearances and whatnot, but if they clean up and they leave and they're out, that's it. The game's over, and that's what the agreement is for. But for single player games, they're saying that if they own rights to that game, then they have rights to that game. Basically, that's all they're saying, and that makes sense. That makes sense.
the initiative seeks to prevent the remote disabling of video games by the publishers before providing reasonable means to continue functioning of said video games without the involvement from the side of the publisher. This isn't always possible.
This is 10 months old, by the way, so I know.
So, again, they're allowed to release a game, and all this is saying is you're not allowed to pull the carpet from the game without explaining why. Why are you pulling the carpet? Are you? Oh, it's because we're closing down the factory. Well, why? Oh, because we're tired of paying for it. That's not good enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what it means. But if you're saying, oh, we're closing it down because it blew up, or something like that, or the server is no longer accessible, which is what we're setting it up for. This is what the people are doing, and this is why they did games the way they did in the first place. Was because you played a game, and all of the game, like Final Fantasy VII, you own that game. You can hack it and do whatever the fuck you wanted to that game. You owned that game, right? That was it. And that was it. They can, whatever, I don't care. I think it's done. But if that, like a Final Fantasy VII, if you logged in and the whole world was on a server somewhere else, and suddenly that server wasn't there anymore, so you can't play Final Fantasy VII anymore. That's what this is about. So
No, this is an old video, but I'm just catching up on this.
In all video games, and it doesn't call out the specific practice that this is supposedly trying to defeat. It is incredibly vague and will damage all live service games. How would you keep
I don't understand how, like, for a live service game, like a single player live service game, that's no.
League of Legends in a function?
Okay.
League of Legends is a live service game, but you didn't pay for it, and you signed an agreement. Like you're moving the goalposts here. From saying Mario, suddenly now it's a 10-person game. You know, that's different. Everyone is connected to this hub, and that's what's making the changes and doing whatever. Your computer's just getting you're putting in the input, right? Everybody's putting it in the input, and that machine that's getting all the input is then sending the output, and that travels as fast as light. That's why there's no lag. Like, the second you go down, like once upon a time, I was like, "Whoa, you could do that! It's crazy." Nowadays, it's like, what the fuck, man? There's like a 0.2 second. Oh my god, man! Like, what the fuck? I clicked the page, and then I didn't load. They go away. Oh my god! Like, what the fuck? And then I think I was what the fuck is his name? That guy, Louis C.K. He was talking about like it's a message that goes to space and comes back from space back to you. Like, give it a second, you fucking grateful fucking douchebag, right? But that like was about cell phone usage, right? I'm talking about like landlines. Like, it's going to like from where I am, it's going to China and coming back. Give it a fucking second. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're bitching, and this is why you connect on servers in NA. Like, they have servers in NA, and then if it gets big enough and populated enough, they'll have NA North, NA East, you know. But basically that's the idea, because there is a server out there that is hosting these games, and that's what they're talking about. So I don't understand how League of Legends is Mario. They're not. And saying that, like, it sounds to me like you just want to be able to pull the rug from people and not explain why. Basically, it sounds like bullshit to me.
Sorry, hold on.
Is supposedly trying to defeat. It is incredibly vague and will damage all live service games.
So, of course, it's vague. He said it himself. This isn't legislation. This is an initiative to start a conversation. So it's going to be relatively vague here. We're not actually writing out a law yet, of course.
Okay.
Right.
How would you keep League of Legends in a functional playable state? You'd have to
We're not talking about League of Legends. We said single player games. League of Legends, you agree to a contract that says you don't own shit. It's just you're buying usage while we're open. Basically, it's what they're saying in the agreement. If you read it, right? I don't know. I'm just assuming. I'm pretty sure it's in there. But that's basically what it is. When you buy a skin, it's not really your skin. It's you're buying a right to it. Basically, when you buy a champion to play in that game, you don't own rights to that champion. It's you're buying the rights to use that champion. They can take those rights away, and that's what I'm saying. Like, people are taking rights in America. Your freedom of speech, your freedom to protest, your freedom to do whatever the fuck you want, and your freedom of religion and freedom to bear arms. You're taking those for granted. It's the same fucking thing.
architect the entire game. The game is what is called client server.
And again, this is why they want people like me shut down, why they want people like Bernie Sanders shut down, why they want people like AOC and Elizabeth Warren was her name. I think that's from the last video, I don't remember. But yeah, for her name, Elizabeth Warren, they want her shut down because I'm bringing truth. I'm bringing the world like this. Right? But what they want is this, and the reason why is because they want to be able to just reach in and take all of that. It's open. It's open. The court is open. They want all that fucking free pussy. You know what I'm saying? That's what they want. Basically, that's what they're getting.
server.
It's
So
sad,
in
but
client-server models, there's a server and there's a client, and all of the math, all of the game, everything happens on the server. The client just displays it. And the reason we want to do it that way is so that you can't teleport around and do a billion damage. You don't.
okay.
Okay, so I'm not a game developer, and I don't know if he's being a level specific. So this is what I was kind of talking about before. I don't want to overstep. I don't think anything he just said there is like correct, really, though. So, like for instance, when he says it's a client-server game, just because you have a game that has a server doesn't necessarily mean the server is doing all of the calculations. I don't even know if client-server game refers to a particular type of architecture or structure of a thing. Like you can have game. What he's referring to specifically with League of Legends is when you're playing a multiplayer game with other people, the server itself.
I feel like a judge in a courtroom, and they're both making an argument, and I'm making the decision. I am the online judge. Oh, I get it. That's my call.
Of architecture or structure of a thing. Like you can have game. What he's referring to specifically with League of Legends is when you're playing a multiplayer game with other people, the server itself is actually handling a lot of the calculations to make sure that on the client, some of the
By the way, I kind of interrupted myself with two thoughts, but the second thought was, again, you're talking about League of Legends, not Super Mario. There's a difference.
information isn't available to be read through in the RAM in order to cheat, like for instance seeing people in the fog of war. So for instance, in a lot of games, so like for StarCraft, and I imagine for probably most games, all of the information, if you're wondering how can you do
StarCraft also, like League of Legends, not Mario.
wall hacks in CSGO, how can you do wall hacks in a video game?
CSGO, again, like League of Legends, like StarCraft, but not like Mario.
Well, the reason is that your client has all of the information about where everybody is. However, it just obfuscates from you. You don't see them because they're hidden behind walls, so they don't render the characters. But if you have a hack of some sort, you can dive through the RAM, or you can dive through whatever bullshit in the game itself, and then
But he's technically right. But again, League of Legends. I'm sorry. What's that fucking called? What the fucking game was it?
you don't see them because
CS:GO.
they're hidden behind walls.
CS:GO is not League of Legends. It's not StarCraft. Completely different games. The involvement is different. The necessity of such a data or environment or such like parameters, if you will, it's different. And again, all that said is not Mario. So
they don't render the characters. But if you have a hack of some sort, you can dive through the RAM, or you can dive through whatever bullshit in the game itself, and then you can find, oh, there they are, and then you can use a hack to show it to you. For League specifically, League does.
for CSGO, yeah, it's because the servers, all they do is there's like a pinpoint. The character is here. On my map, the character is here. On your map, the character is there. And your map, right? Your PC is what makes the character there. And it has like what you hit and what you don't hit. And this is why like leg X what's happened where like, oh, it's a headshot, but it's like, but I wasn't there, I moved, right? That's where that comes from, because my PC generated a picture and it's there, but on the server, on the client side, I moved from that spot. That leg was why that headshot happened. Not because you're skilled, but because it lagged. And so he's bitching because he wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? So, but again, that's different than League of Legends, which is a different game. And again, both of those games are not Mario, which was the original point single player game.
Does a lot of these things server side, so you can't. It's not even possible to hack it on the client. But
it doesn't matter.
I don't know why he brings this up. Like, there are plenty of games that have clients and servers that don't do the math necessarily this way. And there are also, just because it's done that way doesn't mean that you couldn't make it so that a person could host their own server and still have the exact same setup.
And that's where I stopped. And so I don't know beyond this, but the point that I had here was like, repeat it.
Servers that don't do the math.
It's important.
Why I don't know. So you can't. It's not even possible to hack it on the client. But I don't know why he brings this up. Like, there are plenty of games that have clients and servers that don't do the math necessarily this way. And there are also, just because it's done that way doesn't mean that you couldn't make it so that a person could host their own server and still have the exact same setup.
What does that have to do with anything? That's why I stopped it, by the way. No one, so literally, like, how many times are you going to move the goalposts? They went from Mario to League of Legends, Counter Strike, and StarCraft to now we're playing V Rising, where you make your own server and you dictate the rules on that server, basically. That's a third thing. That's a third topic. That's a third point. That's a third argument. We're talking about Mario here, and now you're talking about V Rising in your own server. And again, I'm talking about V Rising just because I know it. And it's the example I'm using because it's familiar to me. But the point with the V Rising is it's like Minecraft. It's like making your own server and hosting your own server, and you have the access to do that, but you're connecting to their server. Basically, is what he's talking about. Their server, not your own, theirs. And again, all of that has nothing to the main point, which was Super Mario. And the fact that you're playing the game, but we're talking about that. But for some fucking reason, like all of this shit, like what the fuck?
I don't know
And again, that's why Bernie Blackout and why the Ninja Blackout.
why he brings this up at all. I don't know why. Like, if I had server files and I could host a server on my computer, I could have 4 friends join it. We could play a 5v5 bot game on, like, I could
It doesn't matter.
just be running the server. So I don't know
It doesn't matter.
why he would. I don't know why he would bring this up.
You're dumb. What does that have to do with anything?
But okay.
Don't trust the client. You trust the server. The client just displays what it's told, right? So if we wanted to re-architect this, we'd have to take all of that server logic, push it back out into the client, and somehow make that playable in a
Like, that's just not true.
Wait, what?
I'm making it
okay. That doesn't
like the
in a,
like that's just not
we'd have to take all of that server logic, push it back out into the client, and somehow make that playable in a
like
if we wanted to re-architect this, we'd have to take all of that server logic. You trust the server. The client just displays what it's told, right?
Right.
So if we wanted to re-architect this, we'd have to take all of that server logic, push it back out into the client, and somehow make that playable in a
like that's just
In a what? Playable in
not
a.
true.
Yeah, it is.
multiplayer only video game. That doesn't
A multiplayer only.
The
in a
like that's just not true.
multiplayer only video game. That doesn't
A multiplayer only video game. I don't understand what you're saying.
it's told, right?
It's up, but okay.
Don't trust the client. You trust the server. The client just displays what it's told, right? So if we
Right.
wanted to re-architect this, we'd have to take all of that server logic, push it
Server.
back out into the client, and somehow make that playable in a
Like that's
In a-
just not
in a-
true.
In a
multiplayer only video game. That doesn't
V Rising. So instead of you playing a League, you are now playing V Rising. You see what I'm saying about the moving goalposts? Like they're arguing two different fronts here. It's like he's saying wah wah, where he's like wah wah over here, and they're both arguing. But the main point is like, and this is what they want. This is why Bernie Sanders is shut up, and why I'm shut up, because they want that division. Me, I point them at each other, and they realize, we shouldn't be fighting. And they handshake and they like each other and they're friendly and they're mutual, united. But they want that division because divided they fall.
Like the clients themselves, I'm making assumptions here, but I'm certainly correct. The clients themselves can already do all of the calculations.
Depends.
The only stuff that's being obfuscated are other players' characters,
Depends. Are you talking about League of Legends or V Rising?
right? You can
Which again has nothing to do with Mario, but what are you talking about?
see this yourself. If you lose connection, I'm trying to think there is no true single player league. I'm confident
Right.
that if you queue a minion, it can calculate like the damage and do crits and go to the shop and all of that. You don't need the server to do those calculations for you. Like the damage and do
Wait, what?
single player league. I'm confident that if you queue a minion, it can calculate like
If you queue a minion, what does that mean?
the damage and do crits and go to the shop and all that. You don't need the server to do those calculations for you. Pretty sure it's just displaying information about where other characters are.
You have to explain your logical reasoning because I'm not a Destiny fanboy, so I'm not on his train. But what it sounds like is you play as a minion, and yes, you could pull up the shop, and yes, you can create because the main server is just explaining like you're here, and this is why every game it takes a while to load because it has to build the map that you're playing on, and that map exists in your PC basically, and you're running around like that's not so much that you're moving. Well, I myself right there combined two games because World of Warcraft. The way that works is you're a person and the world moves around you, basically. So wherever you do, the world moves, basically. Because the world is generating like so much, and you're moving around the world, basically. You can actually see it. Your character actually doesn't do anything; it just looks like it. But you're not actually moving around the world. But in League of Legends, uh, you are actually moving around the world basically like the world actually like this is the server and you're just moving around it. And yeah, you have a shop, right, which can only be accessed when you're close to home because that's how the rule, the code is written and blah blah blah. But it has nothing to do with anything. So
calculations for you. Pretty sure it's just displaying information about where other characters are, other player
right,
characters are on the screen and stuff related
right,
to them.
right.
But again, even if that was the case, that
Edit.
you couldn't, which it's not, but even if that was the case, you couldn't, you can just make the server files available to individuals, and they could just...
No, they can't. The reason why is because pirates would then take them and be like, oh, look, connect to this League of Legends, connect to this League of Legends, connect to this League of Legends. And they'd have their own servers and their own blah, blah, blah. But you want your own server. You don't want to connect to their server. You don't want to connect to bullshit. You want to connect to la da da. You don't want to connect with hooby hooby. You want to connect. And it's like you want authenticity. And you want, I say authenticity because that was my warrior's name, authentic. Right? You want that. And you want him, you don't want some bitch that's going to sell you out, which is what most of America is, or some gold digging whore. You want a true server. You want the real thing. You don't want synthetic, artificial bullshit. You want wholesome, nutrient, natural ingredients. You know what I'm saying? That's what you want. And what you're saying is everyone has a server. Everyone can do whatever the fuck they want. And it's like, good luck, everybody. That has nothing to do with anything. And again, V Rising, sure, but League of Legends, no. Again, V Rising, every single time I play the game, it takes hell of the days to do stuff. And the reason why it takes hell of the days to do stuff is because I'm building the server. My computer is building the server. My computer hosts the server, and I play on it, basically. League of Legends, you are all connecting to a server. Your computer is giving that server data. Everybody's PC is doing the same thing, and so forth. And that's why there's bots, basically, that will just, they attack, and then, oh, I can't do this, so I'm going to go to the shop and just auto buy, right? Build paths, basically, because all you're doing is creating bots. Like Night Blue, Box, all them idiots, they were basically, the scripts were written off of their existence, basically, because they were just programs just lying to you. Build this, and run in and just hope to God that you win. And that's basically what they are. But that's different than in V Rising. And that's different than Mario, which is the whole fucking point of this. And you and Pirate Software are fucking idiots because what you're talking about has nothing to do with anything. But I'm me being a superior being, I'm just letting it happen because I'm like, fucking bored. Why not? Why the fuck not? But the point is, if you read the paper, it said one player games like Mario.
just host themselves. So I don't know why he's saying this would be. You wouldn't have to push all of the math and redo everything. That's just dumb. Yeah.
like this, we have to take
You're dumb.
all of that server logic, push it back out into the client, and somehow make that playable in a multiplayer-only video game. That doesn't make sense to me. So
Verizon.
this isn't going to work for all games. Why is it calling out all games? And it's really easy to say, like, oh, you know, that'll get worked out down the line. But we're dealing with
If you have two clients, who decides who's right? I think this is where the concept of like netcode comes in and how you reconcile these things. But in League of Legends, the decider is the server. The server itself is what does calculations, and the server itself
Right.
will obfuscate from the clients themselves when it comes to displaying like player models and stuff. But
Right. And they want you to connect to the real thing, not some pirated bullshit, basically. So they keep it true and real by not giving you code and creating a server that you connect to. And again, with this agreement, it doesn't apply here because it's a multiplayer game, but the point is, what this agreement theoretically has influence on is if League of Legends wants we don't want to say open anymore. Someone bought us out, and the new owners say, "Fuck it, let's take the money and leave." We can't just do that. That's what they're talking about. But for one-player games, not League, that's a whole different ball game. But the point is that, and Pirate Software is like, "Well, what the fuck?" And it's like, no, that makes sense. Actually, that makes sense. Unless you want to be a sellout, a pirate, for example, that then you would disagree with that, basically. So yeah.
government here. If we're going to be putting up these types of ideas specifically in front of government, we need to be calling out the right issues, especially if you don't have precedent set. Because now you're going to be setting precedent on something that doesn't make any sense.
or you could have in some games to do matchmaking. I don't think this is common anymore though. But like in old games, wasn't this true for like Xbox, like COD, Modern Warfare 2 and stuff? You would have there's a name for this, like self-hosting or something, where when you join a game, like you host the game yourself,
Right, like V-Rising.
and then other people join. And what is
Right.
it called? Is it just called peer-to-peer maybe, or the client itself?
It doesn't matter. You're still hosting. It doesn't matter what type of. All you're doing is just giving each one a different flag to carry, but they're still human. Whatever color it is, it's still a human at the end of the day. And you connect to it. Just like you can impregnate it, it's still a human. Just because you believe that race is a thing doesn't matter because it's a human at the end of the day. Period. End of story, end of discussion. It's a server. You connect to it. End of discussion. They want to be unique. End of discussion. So they don't put it out for other people to replicate it. Other people have it, and other people could. I'm sure it's not that hard, but trying to connect to Riot, they have a bunch of. That's why you connect to Riot, the safety thing, or they have exploits too. But for example, like there's hella games tied to Riot now, like Vanguard, all kinds of bullshit. I just want to play League of Legends. But now I know about all this other shit, and it's like I just want to play League of Legends. I can connect to all this fucking. I gotta jump through hoops and hoops and hoops and hoops. But if it keeps League of Legends true and pure, sure, it's fine, as long as I get League of Legends. And what this agreement is for, again, if they want to if they sell out, a company can't just come in, a competitor can't just come in and buy it and then be like close, and then now there's no market, and that's what's going on, basically. In America, is every single time a company like a Long Island audit, basically, someone comes and buys him out, and then suddenly Long Island audit is no longer a thing, and then so now, what's it called? The bootlickers in tyranny starts to take even more because now they don't have Sean Paul to stand in their way, and that's why Bernie Sanders and myself are being shut down because we are so fucking loud that what Sean Paul is doing, it's like a step in my arena, but I still have all this where he's just a little square over here. That's the difference. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're saying, right? And you're talking about like, oh, you missed the dot for this eye over here, but the point is you're missing the forest for the trees, basically, as they say.
Itself becomes the host per game, just it picks one. So
We need to be calling out the right issues, especially if you don't have precedent set. Because now you're going to be setting precedent on something that doesn't make any sense with people that may not understand the nuance of our industry, all in the name of saving games.
You do.
I can't agree with that. So let's go into why
And why is your video edited? I hate that.
this is happening, right? So why did this start in the first place?
this is completely false. You would have to redo everything on the back end to move between peer-to-peer, server authoritative, distributed, etc. at Destiny. Explain to me why you couldn't just
Yeah, that's true.
have somebody host League of Legends server executable on their computer and then connect to that with their own League client and other people to their own League client. What do you mean?
Why couldn't you? Because that person can do whatever the fuck they wanted. That's why. It's why I want a girl that isn't a whore, basically, and why I prefer, if possible, a virgin, basically, because I don't want her to have had 5,000 dudes before me. You know what I'm saying? I don't want leftovers. Basically, I want a girl who's still, you know what I'm saying, she's holding out for the one. Basically, that's what I want. Right? It sucks that 6 months after I graduated high school, that I had a brain tumor and brain surgery that ruined my, and then surgery that ruined my life. Basically, it sucks that that happened, but my morals still stand. I'm unbreakable. I am the dog that still pees indoors because you ain't gonna housebreak me, bitch. You know what I'm saying? But again, I what's it called? I am housebroken, and I go bathroom I go potty in the pee-pee. That because I'm kind, and because I want to be presentable. But if nobody was here, I wouldn't care. Nothing would change, basically. Whereas everybody else, like suddenly the room would fall apart, and this would be this way, and because they're faking who they are. It's a whole show. It's a Hollywood is in everyone's house, and you become Hollywood, and you think bullshit, and you think that you are, but it's really Hollywood. And you just this message that really doesn't exist, and you think it does, but it doesn't. You think this is, but it isn't. You know, that's why at the end of the day, like I talked to someone on the street, like a homeless man, and like, you a real nigga, you a real nigga, and they bro hugged me all this shit because we talked for a couple of minutes, and like you a real nigga, you a real nigga, but they talk to you like get the fuck out of here, you punk ass little bitch. I guarantee you.
Destiny servers are more complicated than just a single binary. There's a whole web.
It's well, there. This is true. There is more, but the point is to keep it pure. Is to keep it untainted and make sure you have like when you connect to League, you're getting League. I am sure there's pirate software. I'm looking at you, pirate. All right. There's software in the world that wants to take you and oh look at the skin. It's only $4. You know what I'm saying? But in reality, it doesn't matter because it's not really League of Legends. It's a League of Legends, League of Lagoons. You know what I'm saying? It's not Legends. It's a Lagoons. But you think it's a League of Legends, right? It's why people like It's like saying like, don't buy Flaw by Fila. Well, like there was actually a meme once upon a time. You forgot apparently. But basically instead of like a Nike, there'd be shirts for like a Nike, and Adidas would be Adidas, basically. And what I'm saying is there were real makers. Like when I buy Nike shoes, I want it to be Nike. I don't want it to be Nike, basically, and that's what that is. And this is what we're basically talking about, and why League of Legends does what it does. Is to keep my Nikes Nike instead of Nikes, basically. That's what we're talking about. And again, on top of everything, has nothing to do with Mario. So,
Of services that make up a game server, and often those services are coupled. I think people base their expectations on games that let you self-host servers because they are designed for that. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I think it would be arbitrarily easy to bundle these and to make these accessible to player. In 2025, I seriously doubt that in order to host stuff,
that's not the point, Dustin.
you have senior engineers that are wading through in difficult code, trying to weave together some server architecture to host. I guarantee you, all of this shit is set up
That's not the point, Destiny.
in such a way that probably
I'm sure there are people hungry for your daughter, for your little 14-year-old virgin daughter, right? I'm sure. Yeah, go ahead, send them. Go ahead. It's gym, right? It's gym. It's not the gym, but it's a gym. Go ahead. It doesn't matter. They're all predators and rapists and murderers and shit. Who cares? It's fine. That's okay. That's what you're vouching for, you idiot.
some can come in and push a button for a host server, and it generally works. Is going to be my guess in this day and age.
What is the specific cases they called out that are egregious? And they have one. It's The Crew. So action on The Crew. The video game The Crew, published by Ubisoft, was
That's why Destiny's popping off.
recently destroyed.
It's because he's giving the bad guys what they want. It's like, oh, we like that, and we're gonna send all the bots his way, and promote his traffic and bullshit, so everybody picks it up. And again, this is why Bernie Sanders can fill a fucking stadium of 50,000 people, but he can only fill a chat room like 50 people.
Destroyed for all players and had a player base of at least 12 million people. Due to the game's size and France's strong consumer protection laws, this represents one of the best opportunities to hold a publisher accountable for this action.
The only thing I can think of is that if the company releases a binary, someone could reverse engineer it. Okay, but you can already reverse engineer anything if you want. I mean, I guess maybe having a binary might make it a little easier, but who cares?
Again, purity, bitch.
NSA has a free
Just because you're willing to be with the hoe doesn't mean everybody should.
compiler, so you don't have to spend a lot of money.
Some people have morals. Some people believe in purity. Some people are like, oh my god, that Caitlyn skin's dope. It doesn't mean anything if everyone's handing out for 2 cents.
Of a program. This is really hard to actually parse everything out, but it is possible. A decompiler is not going to give you like readable source code. It's not like you can push decompile and now, oh, it's in C. I understand everything. Like you can decompile for a modern program. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a
Doesn't matter. It's not the point.
jumble. You'd have a better chance probably trying to sort through an LLM's code
If this is what the rest is, that's sad.
than getting anything like usable or meaningful from. It would be my guess.
If we're successful in charges being pressed against Ubisoft, this can have a ripple effect on the video games industry to prevent publishers from destroying more games. First off, I don't like the idea in this that it has a player base of 12 million people. That is not how long-running games work. There is a large number of people that buy the game, and that player base slowly dwindles off until nobody is playing anymore. If there's any cost associated with keeping the game online, which this was an online video game, then eventually it costs more to keep it online than it does to keep running it, right? So the cost outweighs the amount of income for it. There
Right.
are bad business
But it's an online game. And again, we're talking about one-player games. And that's why League of Legends still exists. And it has, what's it called? Agreements and whatnot, where it's like, you're not owning all of this stuff. It says you're buying a right to pretend to own it. And if we shut down, you don't own anything because we're taking our card back. And that, as long as you have that card, you can play a champion. But at the end of the day, all you did is buy that card. And you don't actually own that champion. We just gave you access to that champion. That's what happened. Like, the servers are still divided. Even though they're like basically connecting, there's still that division, right? Now you're starting to understand. That's why I always say there is a line in certain things, certain qualities. Are you a murderer? Are you a rapist? Are you a hoe? Are you a this? Are you that? There's a line. A second you cross that line, that's where it's like, okay, you made a fucking grave mistake that you can't take back. And yes, people make mistakes, and that's fine. But like, you gotta understand, like, there is that line. But anyways,
practices that can occur in there. There are companies that will sell a online-only game as a single-player experience and kind of just put it into the TOS and hide it. But not all companies do that. When they do, we should be calling out that specific company, not all companies. So let's...
wait, what?
Practices that can occur in there. There are companies that will sell a online-only game as a single-player experience and kind of just put it into the TOS and hide it. But not all companies do that. When they do, we should be calling out that specific company, not all companies. So let's take a look at this and find out more about the Crew.
The problem is not to bundle them, but that the server depends on a lot of third-party services that you can't just bundle into a single binary. Instead, you'd have to manually set up some AWS stuff, for example. Like, I'm just gonna go with my gut on this. I'm sorry, and that most people that work in programming are retarded. I don't believe you. I think it would be arbitrarily easy to create some pre-existing image or some pre-packaged thing that a card could literally double click and open.
Okay, we're gonna jump to some random time.
Speak publicly while they're at a business or a job elsewhere. A lot of the times,
Oh no, wait. Okay, the other guy didn't put out a response to him. He's just doing this as a general response, I guess. Okay.
major companies will fire you if you are speaking out of turn and cause a PR disaster for those companies. And since this is such a popular thing among players, most devs aren't going to say anything to you. So I am. So let's discuss the most common requirement of the initiative, which is games have to be left in a functional, playable state. Now, what happens if that game is a online-only live service game? Well, if you want that to stay...
Well, that depends. Is it for 1 player, 2 player, 3 player, 4 player, whatever? Is it you and me, or is it us? If it's us, that's a little bit different than just you in the game, right? So, hold on, let's go back.
Most devs aren't going to say anything to you, so I am. So let's discuss the most common requirement of the initiative, which is games have to be left in a functional, playable state. Now, what happens if that game is a online-only live service game? Well,
it depends. Because again, like Mario, for example, it's not an online service game. There aren't, like Final Fantasy X, for example, that's a shitty game because they didn't actually put it on CD. It's online, but when it's no longer a thing, Final Fantasy, like Final Fantasy 7, when you bought that game, you got 4 discs because you bought that game. Everything with it. And nothing was bugged, and nothing was fucked up, nothing was dysfunctional. It was a good game. Look what happened so long. We're 2025 now. There's bugs and everything. There's fuck ups and everything. Like, people are doing such a sloppy job, and you guys are just encouraging to make it worse. That's all you're doing. That's literally all you're doing.
if you want that to stay in...
And again, that might be why you're popping off, and why you're popping off, and why Bernie Sanders and myself are not popping off, because we're saying the opposite of what you are. You are selling America, the world, I should say. You are selling the world out. I'm trying to protect it. That might be what's different.
The devs have to release either server binaries or somehow carve off the game to be a single-player experience now. Some way to keep it functional and playable, right?
Like, this is what I hate. I don't understand why you guys do this. This is a software dev thing. I don't know why. I don't even know why you do it. I've had people do this to me before. The answer is, like, the people will throw up roadblocks that don't even make sense, right? What about something like Pokemon Go? And the obvious answer is, these are not games that we would expect to be offline playable. We would exclude those. Easy.
Why?
Next thing. Why are you even pretending like this
Why? It doesn't matter. My question is why.
is a problem? If there is a game that is heavily centered around exclusively like an online experience, then you just wouldn't, those games would be excluded from this license.
No, you would sign an agreement that says if we pull the plug, too bad, so sad, and you're fine with that, right? Sure. Okay, welcome to League of Legends. Right? That's what it is. This agreement is saying, let's say you bought Mario. Okay. Well, now it's been 2 weeks, and guess what? It was an online-based game, and we're tired of funding it, and they can't play Mario anymore. Sorry, guys, that's on you. No, I bought Mario. That's why when you bought Final Fantasy VII, you got 4 CDs, because that world was there, right? And now there's hackers and editors and blah, blah, blah. Fine, whatever. If they don't protect their product that much, then they're going to pay for it. That's what it is. So,
Obviously, right?
Now, many of you are requesting, yes, I should get the server binaries so that I can go and make private servers for this. But that doesn't make a lot of sense in the real world. And the reason why is because it leaves developers open to abuse. So let's explore that a little bit. Let's say that you made your own video game, and you made a live service game. Maybe it's an MMO, maybe it's something else, right? And let's say that I want to monetize that game, but you don't allow monetization of the game by any other party. This makes sense because most creators don't allow for that. You can't just take someone else's art and profit off of it. Normal, right? So then I go, well, how am I going to force you to do this? Under this initiative, you would have to release the server binaries or keep the game in a functional, playable state at end of life. So I hit you with a ton of bots. I hit you with a ton of exploits. I attack your community. I destroy your Reddit. I go after...
this is dumb. Okay. That's not the thing. You're
The top of what? The scroll bar. What, there's more if you scroll up? I can't scroll up because this is just a picture. So it's hard for me to scroll up on just the picture. because I just have a picture. So I don't know what you want me to do with that, but they should make it so you can scroll up on things that there are pictures of. That would be an easy thing to add to pictures. He's saying that Thor
True.
only posted a part of the DMs. Gotcha.
against it because they think it's doing something it's not. For example, the number one criticism about the initiative that we've never been able to shake is that it's unworkable because you can't expect publishers to support games forever. Yeah,
Don't release them online then.
we know. That's why we've never asked for that. I must have said this 100 times now. It was written on the website from day one, but this keeps coming up over and over again. See, that's the thing. As soon as you say 3 words on
That sucks because he pointed it out but didn't read it. Why aren't you asking companies to support games forever? No, we're not asking for that.
website from day one, but this keeps coming up over and over again. See, that's the thing. As soon as you say 3 words on requiring end-of-life plans, gamers especially will jump to some conclusion, and I never know where they're going to land. Ironically, non-gamers tend to be much better at understanding the initiative because they're not coming with a whole bag full of assumptions. A couple other criticisms are how this would violate copyright law by forcing publishers to give up their intellectual property. No, it wouldn't. Some of you may want to pause this part. Or how this won't work because of end-user license agreements. That's also not a problem. Or how this isn't possible because publishers already have agreements with other companies and don't have the rights to distribute that code. We're aware of that. Yes, the initiative is still possible. Those are the ones I've seen most organically. Beyond that, there's a clear patient zero where others come from. Okay, I really don't want to do this next part, but it's become a liability for the campaign for not. Our biggest critic by far is YouTuber and streamer Pirate Software, who goes by Thor. If your only exposure to Stop Killing Games has been this video, then you've been misinformed. This video is by someone who does not understand the campaign, has been trying to stop it, and has been making up what it is about. I am not saying that lightly. I will prove it in a minute. Now you might be thinking, okay, so some YouTuber got something wrong on the internet. So what? See, that was my thinking too. The problem is how incredibly influential this YouTuber has been. Remember that list of coverage on the campaign? Well, best I can tell, Thor's coverage has been bigger than literally anyone else on those lists, except Asmongold. And the only video Asmongold had on this bigger than Thor's was about Thor's video. So for all practical purposes, Thor here has been the #1 voice on the campaign, and he's been lying about what it is. That's a bit loaded though. In this case, I'm using the second definition of lie. I have no evidence it's the first. This video came out right as we were building momentum, then except for one boost in Germany, the signature started drying up like clockwork. This put me in kind of a no-win scenario too, because if I ignored it, then a lot of people are going to get misinformed about the campaign. And if I did a response video, which is not something I wanted to do anyway, then it might look like drama farming, which could understandably turn off a lot of people from the campaign, because it's not about that at all. So I quickly made this video trying to clear up all misconceptions and concerns about the initiative, with timestamps for everyone's questions, hoping the truth would eventually come out.
Yikes.
I can see now that was a mistake. I should have just embraced the drama. To this day, I'm still getting frequent comments and emails about the same falsehoods about the campaign that originated in this video.
Okay.
Well, now I have nothing to lose. If we don't get the signatures, then none of this matters anyway. So if this campaign is failing because of me not talking about this, then I'll at least correct history here on the way down.
Right. Exactly. See? This guy gets it. He's exactly down. Exactly. I talk because no one else is. The world that needs alphas. He is alpha as fuck. He's sticking his neck out. Who's like, okay, no one else, fine. That's what it is. But you're all busy following this guy. And it's like, okay, what have you done in support of a community lately? I haven't fucked that bitch though. It's like,
Now, I'll get this over with and go over what I think are the biggest points of Pirate Software's videos. I'm not going to go over everything because collectively Thor's made hours of video on both me and the movement. I'd be here forever. Believe me, I could address smaller things too, and kind of already have. All right, let's start. Okay, point number 1. Thor does not understand what Stop Killing Games is. Here it is in his words.
So if those don't understand, the Stop Killing Games initiatives is basically we don't want single-player games
No,
to have DRM that the developers can turn off and thus
so again, did you hear it? We don't want single player games. Let me go back.
basically we don't want single-player games.
Right? But we're talking about League of Legends, CFGO, and all this other shit. Why? Again, I was willing to just fucking hear you out and hash shit out, but it's going nowhere. So I cut all that shit out. I went back to start, and sure enough, single player games, but that's the only fucking mention of it ever. Basically, it's all fucking smokes and mirrors and shit.
No.
To have
But again, that's what makes me a judge.
DRM
Good judge.
that the developers can turn off and thus render the single player.
And that's why I was so good at StarCraft 2. Because I'd play for, I'd go for your throat, basically. That's what it is. This is what Root is. This is why I was, my warrior's name was Authentic. Because that's what it was.
Player games inactive anymore. This is what they want to change. They need to be specific that they're talking about single player games that do not need a server to support them.
No.
And as much as they want it to be about specifically games, whereas a single player game that has always online functionality, it would impact every live service game that exists. Instead of just
Not really.
targeting single player, always online games.
No, that's not what it is. Stop Killing Games includes single-player games, but nothing about it is specific to them. He completely made that up, and I have no idea where he got that impression. This is what I mean. It's harder for gamers to understand this because they come with so many assumptions. It's like that saying about doctors being the worst patients. So let's clear this up. It's the first line on the website. Stop Killing Games as a consumer movement started to challenge the legality of publishers destroying video games they have sold to customers. But the movement includes all this stuff from earlier, and he was mostly talking about the initiative. Well, the short version is the initiative is about the customers.
Oh.
Site. Stop Killing Games as a consumer movement started to challenge the legality of publishers destroying video games they have sold to customers.
Right. So the example was Mario. So what was the point? Okay. I never seen this shit. I'm listening to this video. So apparently Destiny is an idiot and he didn't cover this at all as well. So this guy that I pointed to is like, oh my god, he gets it. He's like me. Yeah, pretty much. I would not expect any less for myself. So well done, whoever you are. Who is this guy, by the way? Real quick. We'll just go to 130, I don't know.
The Stop Killing critic by though I want to say 80.
The top of what? The scroll bar. What, there's more if you scroll up? I can't scroll up because this is just a... That would be an easy thing to add to pictures. He's saying that Thor only posted a part of the DMs. Gotcha.
This is what it looks like to find a real one, by the way. I will see more. We'll see more of this guy. Because we gotta see if he actually is like me or if he's full of shit.
From Dead Agent, who has given €5 to ask, have you considered malicious compliance where...
Don't care about this. Okay, so that will be for another day. One second, I got some responses. I would make that joke, but I probably get you're sexist, you're racist. So I can't. If being honest is mean, you have a problem. but we already covered that with your lack of brain. Sorry. Again, this is not a side. Someone responded, so I'm going to respond to them. I really don't care. Even if I am in the middle of something or recording a video or blah blah, I'm gonna get into this shit. Or get down or find out more. But anyways, I'm done now. Okay. So
Guess it because they think it's doing something it's not. For example, the number one criticism about the initiative that we've never been able to shake is that it's unworkable because you can't expect publishers to support games forever. Yeah, we know. That's why we've never asked for that. I must have said this 100 times now. It was written on the website from day one, but this keeps coming up over and over again. See, critics has been something misconceptions and concerns about the initiative with timestamps for everyone's questions, hoping the truth would eventually come out.
Yikes.
I can see now that was a mistake. I should have just embraced the drama. To this day, I'm still getting frequent comments and emails about the same falsehoods about the campaign that originated in this video.
Okay.
Well, now I have nothing to lose. If we don't get the signatures, then none of this matters anyway. So if this campaign is failing because of me not talking about this, then I'll at least correct history here on the way down.
that's kind of the point. That's why I'm speaking up. Because if no one else will, I have no choice. So
I'll get this over with and go over what I think are the biggest points of Pirate Software's videos. I'm not going to go over everything because collectively Thor's made hours of video on both me and the movement. I'd be here forever. Believe me, I could address smaller things too, and kind of already have. All right, let's start. Okay, point number one. Thor does not understand what Stop Killing Games is. Here it is in his words.
So if those don't understand, the Stop Killing Games initiatives is basically we don't want single-player games
No.
to have DRM that the developers can turn off and thus render the single-player games inactive anymore. This is what they want to change. They need to be specific that they're talking about single-player games that do not need a server to support them.
No.
And as much as they want it to be about specifically games, where it is a single-player game that has always online functionality, it would impact every live service game that exists, instead of just targeting single-player, always online games.
No, that's not what it is. Stop Killing Games includes single-player games, but nothing about it is specific to them. He completely made that up, and I have no idea where he got that impression. This is what I mean. It's harder for gamers to understand this because they come with so many assumptions. It's like that saying about doctors being the worst patients. So let's clear this up. It's the first line on the...
hold on. I'm curious. So I just heard that there's a saying basically that I never heard or I don't know or maybe I'm just unfamiliar. I forgot. I don't know, but the saying was was it, doctors make the worst patients, and he said there's a saying about that. So I'm curious, what is he talking about?
Yeah, that saying is actually pretty well known. It's doctors make the worst patients. It basically means that doctors, because they have medical knowledge, can sometimes be a bit stubborn or not follow advice as easily as other patients might because they kind of think they know better. So it just means that sometimes they could be a little bit difficult when they're on the other side of the equation and they have to be the patient instead of the doctor.
So it's basically another way to say it's tough to treat an old dog new tricks.
Yeah, that's a pretty good comparison. It's along the same lines, you know, when someone is set in their ways or has a lot of knowledge in a certain area, it can be a bit of a challenge to get them to change their habits or follow instructions that they might not agree with. So it's definitely a similar kind of idea.
And that's exactly why I personally chose not to educate myself to a professional standard or to make a career like a doctrine or something. I chose not to be a doctor because then I couldn't be a carpenter. You know what I'm saying? I knew that and I understand that as a person. And so all that's saying at the end of the day was I'm right. So cool.
Well, it definitely sounds like you've got your own unique path and perspective, which is awesome. it's definitely important to follow what feels right for you and your own passions. And hey, whether you're a doctor or a carpenter or anything else, it all comes down to what makes you happy and fulfilled. So good on you for following your own path.
Not really. It comes down to being able to think. That's the point. If you're too refined, then you can't power the car. You know what I'm saying? Like oil, for example, you can refine it down to the most extreme gasoline for a car, but then that means that that car can be powered and nothing else. That like once you become that, you can't become something more. That's what refining and defining and sharpening your blade does. Every time you sharpen your blade, you can't get that context back. At some point, that sharpened blade becomes a toothpick.
I get what you mean. It's like the idea that if you over specialize or refine something too much, you might lose flexibility or the ability to adapt in different ways. It's definitely a balancing act, right? You want to keep that ability to think broadly and adapt to new situations. It's a cool analogy with the refining process.
Exactly, and that's why I myself chose to be a jack of trades. And I don't remember the a saying, but basically, but I am more times more useful than a master of one. Now, you might be the best tank or the best healer, but when you need one or the other at a moment's notice, you come to me because generally you're not going to just find a tank and you're not going to find a healer. But with me, you get both.
That's a great perspective. The saying you're thinking of is probably a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. It really highlights the value of being versatile and adaptable. It's definitely a strength to be able to jump into different roles and handle whatever comes your way. So it's awesome that you embrace that flexibility.
Right, but the whole idea was clarity, basically, like to point out that it is that way, and this is why, basically.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that clarity in your own path and understanding why you choose to be the way you are. It's great that you've got that insight and that you value versatility and adaptability. It definitely shows a lot of self awareness, and it's always awesome to have that clarity guiding your choices.
I'm glad I have it because today you can't get that anywhere. Like the I'm trying to like 1980s or 1990s, like that old TV I grew up with, basically, and not so much that I'm from those times, but those times brought like they shared their knowledge, and I absorbed it, basically, and now today you can't find it anywhere.
Yeah, there is definitely something special about the knowledge and the culture from those earlier decades. It's like there was a different vibe, and a lot of that wisdom and the way things were done back then can feel like it's harder to come by now. It's great that you were able to absorb that and carry it forward, and it definitely gives you a unique perspective that's kind of a blend of the old school and the new school.
Thank you for your input. I gotta get going. I'll talk to you later, okay? Love you. Mwah.
Absolutely. Take care and have a great one. Talk to you later.
Shot down again. Fuck. Anyways, I always send advances to the AI, but it never catches them. It always fucking, anyways.
A website. Stop Killing Games is a consumer movement started to challenge the legality of publishers destroying video games they have sold to customers. But the movement includes all this stuff from earlier, and he was mostly talking about the initiative. Well, the short version is the initiative is about requiring publishers to have end-of-life plans for games they sold to customers in the future. So when they shut them down, customers can continue running them without their support. The long version depends on what kind of transaction is being made. As you can see, it's not easy to explain in a soundbite. But if you notice, we don't make a distinction between single-player and multiplayer games. That's because the law doesn't either. So why make this even harder?
Hmm. So there's no definition. Yeah, I think that's true. The so they're splitting it. It's because divided they fall, and so they were unified, and they're intentionally creating division so that they can say left or right, when in reality it was all encompassing in the first place. Much like race back in the day, once upon a time, everybody was everything, basically. You know what I'm saying? And what happened was some people went left, some people went right, and the earth shifted and made to where people on the left were separated from people on the right, and the oceans got further and further and further, and eventually one is white and one is black. But they're the same species. It's just what happens if they evolve on their own for a very long time, and then they get mixed together after so many years. And this is why there's Asians and blacks and Germans and um, what's it called placebos and rain and coffee, right? Whatever. But the point is, like, that's where that came from. This division, and it wouldn't be a thing if greedy, corrupt manipulators weren't involved. But yeah.
Both the movement and the law are making distinctions on how games are sold. Also, that party said about it affecting all live service games, yes and no. It would affect most live service games in the future, but the initiative is not retroactive. So that's one thing Thor doesn't understand, but he also seems to think that
Retroactive, I think, means like back then, but now. Like, we're not going define retroactive. Especially legislation taking effect from a date in the past. Yeah. So we're not going back. It's just from now on, games that are sold like Mario, if the server pulls its they want to stop producing, then they like this is actually, I think, fair. Is if at the end of the day, at the end of your career, it's basically what people are gonna do with this agreement with the companies will do is they will sell you a product and keep it alive, and they will always have some version ready, basically, that they can just give you at the end of it, basically. You know what I mean? So it may cheat. It's gonna make games worse now, but eventually it'll make games better. Because what you're doing is you're taking out all the trash, and you're stopping the pirating software, and the pirates and all the bullshit people, the manipulators, cheaters, and exploiters that filled our waters up. You're taking them out of the water and making it to where only true, sailors can sail, basically. And there's less pirates, is all you're doing. So, good job. Well done on that.
this is about converting multiplayer games to single player. Once again, he made that up, and I have no idea why he thought that.
How many games have you
He thought that because divided they fall.
wanted to play that you no longer can? This is so barely an issue and requires so much work from devs. Why would we listen to Ross, who has never seen code in his life? So I actually think the strongest criticism is actually that. The reality is, not to be mean to you guys, or I don't know if you guys care about this, like there's probably not that many old games that people actually super want to play. This would be a thing that you would be doing hardcore for like video game hobbyists or like hardcore video game. But even like saying hardcore video game enjoyers, it wouldn't really, it would be certain niches of it because most people want to play like the newer games that everybody's playing and all that shit. So this would be kind of a niche-ish thing. That's probably the best response to it. It's just not worth it. I don't believe that this would require.
I gotta be honest, I zoned
Thing
out.
that
I
you-
was thinking on something else.
I think
Sorry.
this is about converting multiplayer games to single player. Once again, he made that up.
I was thinking about how Destiny banned me, and how if he came to me and we connected, and then what I would say and how that transaction would go. Because I'm better than him, I'm more knowledgeable, I'm more intelligent as far as education, he may have me as far as lawyers stuff. He knows people are more educated than I am, but as far as intelligence goes, I'm the king, the alpha of alpha, the king of kings. I truly am. But the point though is, I was thinking about like what would he say if we came together? I would be like, dude, you banned me. What the fuck? You know what I'm saying? And I don't know. I was just thinking about it. But anyways,
And I have no idea why he thought that.
How many games have you
again, the reason why he thought that is divided they fall. Continue.
wanted to play that you no longer can? This is so barely an issue and requires so much work from devs. Why would we
How many games do you play and no longer can? That's not the point. Because all that question is talking about is, well, I'm part of the mainstream, and I have no idea what the off stream does, so fuck them. That's basically what he's saying.
listen to Ross, who has never seen code in his life? So I actually think the strongest criticism is actually that. The reality is, not to be mean to you guys, or I don't know if you guys care about this, like there's probably not that many old games that people actually super want to play. This would be a thing that you would be doing hardcore for like video game hobbyists or like hardcore video game. But even like saying hardcore video game enjoyers, it wouldn't really, it would be
There are still people that speedrun Super Mario Brothers. Shut up.
certain niches of it because most people want to play like the newer games that everybody's playing and all that shit.
Right, mainstream meta heads.
So this would be kind of a niche-ish thing. That's probably the best response to it. It's just not worth it. I don't believe that this would require so much more work from devs, so I think that's bull. Would probably require a little bit more work though, but
Transitioning an
No.
entire multiplayer server-side game into a single-player video game, which means rebalancing the entire experience around single player, rebuilding everything in the entire game. How are you going to do that with Final Fantasy XIV? You're just going to make all the raids soloable? Imagine the day that World of Warcraft shuts down, and suddenly you have to make it a single-player game for every individual that ever bought the game.
What does Final Fantasy, like, literally, listen to him. He's talking about single player games, and then he's talking about being in a raid where he needs to be with people. I'm sure that they can do NPCs if they want, because that's what they do for the most part anyway. Is they fill up with the bots and robots and all this bullshit that isn't real anyways. So I could see that being a thing. Why not? But the point is though, Final Fantasy is a multiplayer game. It's not a single player game, you stupid hair splitting fuck.
The game. That's what they're asking.
No.
And he wants it divided so you can keep jumping and dart your fucking truths with the bullshit. That's what the world is. And again, that's what me and Bernie Sanders are. Shut up because we make too much sense.
Because they
Jesus, what?
would have to sunset live service games as a single-player experience. The idea that suddenly you need to make every single live service game playable single-player offline? No, dude.
Correct. No. This one is particularly baffling to me because I've heard most counter arguments before, but until 4, I've never heard this one. That we want the industry to convert all multiplayer games into single-player ones. I keep saying it. You never know where gamers are going to take this.
Nowhere in there does it say that it's directly targeting always online single-player games.
Oh, he's so close. He's so close to getting it.
It is vague, and because of that, it
He never has that light bulb moment. Well, he is correct in that statement. It's almost as if that's not what the initiative is asking for. But those were his streams with a smaller audience. What does he say in his big YouTube?
He would be me if I sold out a little bit, if I used some semblance or required some semblance of a script or some he's not as alpha as me, but he is an alpha, if that makes sense. Like he's only like 2.5 alphas, whereas I am the alpha. You know what I'm saying? Like I am worth 10 alphas. Like if 0 to 10, how alpha are you? He's probably like a 7. He's probably like a 7 out of 10, and I'm like an 11, basically. Right? I don't care. I'm just talking to my camera. Like I'm talking, and before this is impossible. Basically, before you had to be all dolled up, you had to be all Hollywooded, all this bullshit, all this fake, and now we're seeing what you get with it. A bunch of fucking bullshit, fucking pirates, and it's the point is effort. What's it called? The second you want there to be an easy button, then everybody can push the easy button, and now no longer is skill based. And everyone can do it, and that's what you're asking for. And you're asking for that simply because I want to be lazy. But the problem is, you wanting to be lazy means everyone else can do it too. And eventually you're going to run into the guy who's like, well, I'll do it for beans. You know, I don't need money today. Like, oh, I'll give you beans. And then so you get, Davida, I get beans. Davida, I'll push the button. Oh, I'm missing the button and I'm pushing next to it. But I'm so fucking stupid, I don't even notice, and the whole world blows up.
YouTube video with over 1 million views that he had time to research.
If we're trying to kill off the practice of developers putting together a live service game, pitching it as a single player experience, and then taking away support in the future,
Now he's changed it again and is making up how it's about single player games are advertised. What is he doing?
it needs to be specific about the developers putting together a live service game.
Over 1 million views that he had time to research.
If we're trying to kill off the practice of developers putting together a live service game, pitching it as a single player experience, and then taking away support in the future,
now he's changed it again and is making up how it's about single player.
So already the critique of him, he should have let Thor finish his thought. Like, you don't argue when you don't know the context.
it as a single player experience, and then taking away support in the future.
Now he's changed it again
But what I'm saying?
and is making up how it's about single player games are advertised. What is he doing?
It needs to be specific about the business practice it's trying to defeat, which is specifically companies that are doing this under the guise of it being a single player game, but adding online only functionality that is not necessary and doesn't add any gameplay elements. That's the problem.
No, that's not it at all.
And there are some people who say, well, just make it all single player.
Like
Well,
you?
explain that that doesn't make any sense in the first place. If you're making it all single player, you have to carve off all of that, and it's developer time and money. These are two different ideologies, and that's okay to have two different ideologies. I just won't agree with it.
But those aren't the ideologies. Nothing in the initiative is asking to convert games to single player.
Nowhere in there does it say that it's directly targeting always online single player games.
Yeah, so why does he keep bringing it up? This is a total red herring.
If we don't like the idea of live service games as a whole, I get it. Don't play live service games then. Don't agree to those terms.
No, he's getting.
So again, this is why I'm the alpha king. Cause like, no, that's not right. No, that's not right. Whereas in me, I'm like, no, that's right. What's right is, you know what I'm saying? There's the difference.
A new thing wrong now. We're not against them existing. We're against them being destroyed with no recourse for the customer. Just use logic. If we didn't like them in the first place, why would we care if they're being destroyed? He says he gets it, but he doesn't.
Let's talk about the actual bad business practices. In the case that a studio is making a live service game and they sell it to you as a product, they say that you are purchasing the game or you are buying the game, when in reality you're actually purchasing or buying a license to that game. I think that we should be fighting about that. The initiative is not trying to call that out specifically. It's trying to say that all games need to stay in a functional, playable state,
Yes!
which is not calling out the language that is being used to manipulate the player. Call that out specifically.
Okay, I don't know if he's doing this intentionally. I'll be charitable and assume he's not. But this is some serious obfuscation. He's complaining that the initiative isn't focused on another topic he made up. I mean, what is that logic? Hey, the
He's reading from a script. That's sad.
initiative doesn't address how Capcom changed the look
He's
of Dante in the Devil May Cry reboot either. That may as well be what he's saying there. I am not aware of a game on the planet that doesn't address how Capcom changed the look of Dante in the Devil May Cry reboot either.
He just has different hair. It's basically the same model. The shading is different, but it's just, if you took that hair and put it over there, it'd be the same thing. Oops.
Other topic he made up. I mean, what is that logic? Hey, the initiative doesn't address how Capcom changed the look of Dante in the Devil May Cry reboot either. That may as well be what he's saying there. I am not aware of a game on the planet with a license agreement that says you are not buying a license. Our problem is not with licenses failing to inform people. Blizzard says they can take away your purchase for no reason. That sounds pretty clear to me. Our problem is those terms are so hostile to consumers and the medium that they should be taken off the table entirely. This needs regulation. Forget video games. If you look at basic commerce for hundreds of years, when you paid money, you either got to keep what you paid for, or if it was a service, you were told when your access ends. The vast majority of online-only games do neither of those. The games industry is trying to upend basic commerce. I think you have to go back to feudalism before neither of those things are true. Why even have consumer laws if you have no rights?
If you try to tell me that
And that's the point, is that they're trying to take your rights away, and he is stupid and enforces it, and so is Destiny. Which is why me and this guy are just, you don't hear about us except through grassroots, basically, because we bring truth to power. My approach of, that's not true, this is true. Oh, you're an alpha, banned. Oh my god, you toxic, banned.
This is kind of true. I feel like this came up for some game recently, but I can't remember. Like, the launch was so disastrous, they said they were going to shut down the servers in like 2 months. Now, in practice, this probably wouldn't happen because you have millions of players in a game. You're probably not going to shut down the service because you're making money doing it. But like in practice, but in theory, like a company could theoretically, like Blizzard could release a new game, like Diablo 5, sell 10 million copies, and then instantaneously shut down the servers, and you basically have a bricked game that you just paid money for. And according to
That's the point.
the end user license agreement, you kind of have accepted that. That's a little bit weird, right? Oh, somebody said it was Concord, but they gave refunds to everybody out.
every studio
But that's the point, Destiny. Oh, it's a little bit weird. Like people who could be watching this for the full hour and 25 minutes, and all he did realistically was, oh, that's a little bit weird. But he's been bitching and yelling this whole time about random nothingness, and now we get to the point, and what does he say? Ah, that's weird. Isn't that what Hassan does? He watches the video, he's like, neat, and that's it. Like, that's what you did. That's what you did. Me, I'm listening to it. I'm like, there has to be something. There has to be some relevance here. There's like, I'm a judge in a courtroom. I would have told you fucking both of you apes to get the fuck out of here. Like, you guys are making no sense. Get out of my courtroom. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Making noise but making no sense. Man.
Who needs to run their live service game indefinitely or not want to run one at all, then no one's going to run them.
Oh no! He wheeled out that line about publishers having to support the game forever. He was literally watching the video earlier where it says it won't do that in big letters. That wasn't enough. We just can't stop gamers from going there, even when we spell it out. I admit, guys, this part hurts. To see the biggest voice on this issue get it wrong again and again and again, then put that...
How do you think I feel about life in general? Like, life sucks because everyone else is fucking themselves in the ass with... It's like, oh my god, drama that I can easily avoid that I'm not going to. Into my vagina. And I'm like...
Same wrong information on blast to a far bigger audience that we can reach. It hurts. He doesn't get it. He doesn't understand what we're asking for. Now, to be fair, it sounded like he was getting a little closer in this video. Yeah, despite being called 2, it's at least a bigger audience that we can reach. It hurts. He doesn't get it. He doesn't understand what we're asking for.
And I'm gonna read a script. I'm gonna read a script until it comes down to the emotions. Now I can actually talk and read and look at you because I'm just expressing anger. I'm expressing hatred. But the second I have to talk about facts, I have to read from a script because I don't know what I am saying unless I am reading it from a script. But when it comes down to drama, act angry here. So when it comes to like being a person and being mad, I can be mad. 30 more seconds, and then so like the reason why I'm mad is because come on, dude, like how many fucking Hollywood fakers out there? Stop it! Even the Hollywood fakers are trying to be like me, like
Now, to be fair, it sounded like he was getting a little closer in this video. Yeah, despite being called 2, it's at least the 4th video he did on this.
You want that to stay in a functional playable state? That means the devs have to release either server binaries or somehow carve off the game to be a single player experience now.
That's better, but he's still talking about converting the single player right to the end. He never completely got it. So Pirate Software did not understand the initiative. Maybe still doesn't. That means the majority of his critique is about things it would not do, like kill all MMOs.
If that passes, enjoy never playing an MMO again for the rest of your life and taking away from every other person that plays MMOs.
It really wouldn't. And I've explained why in that video, but the short version is companies would have to stop liking money for that to happen. Lots of money. But his number one criticism is that he thinks the initiative is vague.
Incredibly vague. Too vague. Very vague and vague. It's vague. It's vague. That is vague. Too vague. Vaguely vague. Incredibly vague. Vaguely worded. Vague. 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 This is vague.
This goes on. Well, from Thor's perspective, his logic is pretty sound for this part. But the thing about logic is it's only as good as your assumed truths. And he said multiple times now that he thinks the initiative is only about single-player games. So since he's expecting the thing he made up, but that's not what the initiative is asking for, he thinks it's vague. Because for him, it is.
Nowhere in there does it say that it's directly targeting always online single-player games. It is vague.
Yeah, in fact, if we look at that long definition again, let's add a subsection just for Thor. Single-player games with an online DRM check. Those would already fall under this broader category. So Thor is expecting this. Again, I don't know why, but instead he's seeing an initiative that covers all of this.
Okay, I'm bored.
Chud logic.
You can personally dislike this campaign, and Pirate Software was a totally disgusting wretch in how he dealt with this from day one, okay? Both those things can be true, don't worry. Two things can simultaneously be correct, okay? There's nothing to defend Pirate Software on this. He said multiple things that were just factually wrong about what the initiative was supposed to be, right? And on top of that as well, he totally refused to talk to the guy. He completely smeared the guy, and then totally refused to have a conversation.
Based.
Utterly cowardly, spineless wretch behavior from this guy, from Pirate Software. It's indefensible, totally indefensible behavior on Pirate Software's part.
Thinking, okay, so
Wow. Sounds like a hater. We've got a Pirate Software hater, everyone.
What's funny is both of the things that he pointed to or he was talking about or the video he was showing, and then he showed another video. Both of them like himself. So all three of them, video edits, cuts, and they're preparing themselves. Look at me. I literally just rolled out of bed. I'm not trying to impress you. I'm not trying to kiss up to. Did you hear, by the way? That's why I'm always like, because there's something there, it just won't come out. But I don't care to impress you. I'm not trying to buy your what's it called? Your favor. I don't care if you have favor. I don't care. That's why if most of my videos, if you look, that's what you see of me, basically. And you know why? Because it's not about me. It's about what I'm talking about. That's what it should be. When you're watching like anything else, they literally will take up like half the fucking screen. Oh, wrong thing. Lol. If you're curious, basically that's what I put every time I leave. Well, every time I have to use the restroom, I'll say, "Yo, I'll be right back. I'll go drop something off." Poo probably, and then it says unloading dot dot dot, and then it has a drawn picture of a toilet. But like, I don't care. Like that's why you only see this. That's it, right? And what I'm trying to say is people, they'll go and post a video, but in that video they're like, "Hey guys, so and so, and I'm here to talk to you guys about." Oh wait, there you go. It's so bad. Hey guys, look at that. Isn't that factual? Like you see it over there? You see it? Yeah, like I pointed this way because of how little I actually what's it called? I involve myself in the situation. I point to the wrong side. I'm not used to it. As it should be. I shouldn't be like this. This should not be normal. This should not be standardized. But yet it is. I don't know why. Let's see. No. Wow. Apparently, the one I actually use is actually smaller than I shrunk it, right? I shrunk it down to be down, but for some reason, it's not as small as my actual foot. Like, the actual one that I use is smaller than my example, is what I'm trying to say. Like, you see, like, here's the example, and here's what I use. That's hilarious. But yeah. But the reason why I do that is because it's not about me. It's not about what I'm talking about. It's not about that drama. It's not about that blah blah blah. It's whatever. Oh, by the way, just if you're curious, because I know personally, what's it called? Like I might want to have gone back. Oh, it's 11:11. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, I just now looked at my clock. But anyways, here's my desktop. That's what I look at every day because I accidentally showed that. So there you go. If you're curious, that's what I just look at every day. I got nothing to hide. It's just it is what it is. Yeah, this smaller desktop me is smaller than what's it called this one, and this one is smaller than this one. That's hilarious. And that one doesn't even have me, but that's because I'm somewhere else at the moment. I imagine. Anyways, that's it. So, if you have anything to say, say it. If not, don't. Obviously. But the point is, Destiny is an idiot. Part Software is an idiot. Part Software used basic manipulation tactics